I did have to laugh when Grandpa Gangster was saying that Elon is wound tight and needs more fiber in his diet, and he has some recipes for Elon. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure Grandpa Gangster has a lot of Metamucil recipes. What is up, everybody? Here to talk about today's Wednesday, October 29th, 2025 episode of Beyond the Gates. Another fairly enjoyable episode. Personally, I have been enjoying this week a lot more than the last 3 or 4 weeks. I do feel like this week has been more entertaining overall, and I'm hoping that trend continues the rest of the week, although I do know we're going to get Ashley and Derek at some point this week, and that's going to kind of sink some things. And I also don't feel great about the Vanessa and Grandpa Gangster storyline overall, which we will get to. Want to talk about the positives today first. Obviously, I know the cat lovers feel differently, but I enjoyed the Izaiah and Eva scenes today. I like that Izaiah was upset drinking about trying to call his girlfriend, or I guess now ex-girlfriend, Yolanda, and then calls Eva to come in, and he says that when Eva arrives, she changed the whole energy in the place. So that was nice. I think that in these scenes today, we got to see that they actually do have a lot in common, because he feels some way about Elon. He and Elon clearly have a not so hot relationship, and she obviously has to deal with Leslie as a mother, which isn't the best thing to have to deal with either. So yeah, I like that we got to see Eva get to have these scenes with Izaiah, and that Kat didn't ruin the possibility of Eva and Izaiah. I was trying to look in the comments from yesterday's video right now, because somebody said they would like to see Yolanda come onto the show. So whoever that was, I can't find her right now. I agree. I do hope we see the character of Yolanda one day. I'm really enjoying the show having some new blood with Izaiah. I do think the show needs to continue to bring in some new blood and start to get rid of some of these characters that didn't work, like the Ashley and Derek's, like the Vanessa and Joey's. I do think we could use some new blood instead of them, in my opinion. Another thing I did enjoy today was Samantha being found when she's about to have sex on the couch when Smitty and Martin come crashing in, which is how yesterday's episode ended. I do want to give a shout out to Hemi in yesterday's video that said, Samantha ate too bright. You can't be bringing some young man back to your parents' house to get it in when there's no chain lock on the door. The chain lock gives you some extra time to straighten up before having to let your parents in when they pop up unexpectedly. Don't ask me how I know. Hemi must have some experience there, I said in the comments I might start calling Hemi Chainlock as a nickname in the comments, but she's not wrong. It was not smart of Samantha to be doing that on the couch. She even tried to use that as an excuse today, saying, well, you think we were going to have sex on the couch? That's ridiculous. But then Martin found the condom on the floor that Nathan had. They had some poor excuses. They first said that they were doing a test, but then when the condom was found, Nathan said they needed that for a chemistry assignment. And so Martin went off, per usual, telling Nathan his daughter is off limits, no contact at all. Samantha's feeling like Martin ruined her entire life. She feels humiliated. And then Tyrell walks in to learn that Nathan was over. And then Samantha brought up something she's brought up in the past, and the fact that Tyrell's had Jessica over a couple times, and they were just A-okay with that. And of course, those two didn't do anything, but they definitely could have. And Smitty and Martin have trusted them to not do anything while being alone a lot. And I get Martin and even Smitty saying that it is Samantha can ruin her whole life. She could end up pregnant. She is the woman in their scenario, in this scenario. But the show, in my opinion, has painted a picture of Smitty and Martin being way different parents with Tyrell than they are with Samantha. And I don't know if the writing's done that purposefully, but I feel like they have. I feel like they are showing us that having two dads is a little rough when it comes to raising a girl, because sometimes they do need to have a woman to talk to. Sometimes they can't just be treated like they're so different because they're a girl and not a guy. The show has shown us and told us on several occasions that they let Tyrell do way more than they let Samantha, and they are overbearing when it comes to Samantha. And I feel like the show maybe has done this to show us the need that Samantha has to actually want to develop a relationship with June. Because after today's scenes, I was left feeling like, I really do wish Samantha had more women to talk to, because having those three guys in the house, they are really overbearing. And I understand where Samantha's rebel streak is coming from, because I would want to rebel in Samantha's shoes too. And Smitty tried to, per usual, be the less harsher one. But I feel like Smitty didn't feel like Martin went too far today when he did. Because any good parent would see, because they've talked about this in the past, that Smitty has specifically called out that them being too overbearing with Samantha is going to make her rebel, and now here she is rebelling, but then Smitty just goes along with Martin being too harsh today. I did think Martin going with the "I'm just so disappointed in you" talk was overkill, and it's teenagers being teenagers here. I don't want Samantha to go too far with Nathan, but clearly by the end of the episode, she's still going to keep rebelling. And a lot of it has to do with Martin's parenting style. I don't think it's a great fit for Samantha, personally. And so by the end of the episode, Samantha is using Tyrell's phone to text Nathan that they need to see each other again and talk. So this is her already rebelling. We also did learn from Tyrell. He said to Samantha that Nathan is the kind of guy that has a lot of locker room talk, talking about all the girls that he's smashed before. In yesterday's episode, though, Nathan was at least making sure that this is what Samantha really wanted to do, making sure she was actually comfortable, and even had a condom. So while he might be like some kid in the school that is getting around, he hasn't been portrayed to us as like a terrible person when it comes to underage sex. It is kind of teenagers being teenagers, but it could also just end up being him using Samantha just for sex, if that is what he's doing with others, according to Tyrell. But I have enjoyed the teen stuff this week, even if Martin's parenting today wasn't great. I do feel like it was the show being fair with a lot of its past writing for Martin and Smitty, and Martin and Smitty treating Samantha different than Tyrell, and I'm glad they continued to go there. As for Nicole and Carlton, she's, I guess, not ready to date again. She was upset with Carlton and Ted for embarrassing her at the hospital in front of Shanice. She didn't want to see Carlton, but he kind of pushed his way in with her caretaker or maid. This is our first time seeing her maid, I feel like, but maybe I'm wrong. But Carlton kept complimenting Nicole, trying to get back on her good side. But it didn't seem like Nicole was too willing to give him a chance right now, but Carlton seems like he wants to wait. In the comments yesterday, a lot of people were talking about how we need to see more of Carlton and who he is, and I agree with that. And since we haven't really seen that, I don't really know if he is a viable option for Nicole. In the middle of today's episode, I felt like maybe this was going to be one of the last times we see Carlton, because they just refused to really develop him outside of, I guess, being interested in Nicole. But by the end of the episode, he's saying he's okay waiting, and then they're kissing again. So maybe it's not the end of Carlton, but I still don't know if I believe that he is the one for Nicole on this show. And just looking at the canvas in general, I don't know if Nicole's man is on the canvas right now. We might need a newbie. I don't know what Greg Vaughn is going to be on this show whenever he debuts. Maybe it's for Nicole. Hopefully not. I feel like that might be a boring combination. But we don't know what kind of character Greg Vaughn is going to play yet, I suppose. Yeah, when I look at the canvas, I don't know if Nicole's man is on the show right now. And that includes Ted. I don't really know if it's Ted either. Lastly, let's talk about this Dani, Vanessa, Joey, Elon mess. I did not like the Dani and Vanessa scenes today. And I've talked about this the past few weeks. I just don't feel like the character of Vanessa is working anymore ever since Doug's death. I said last week I felt like they killed off the wrong character. They should have killed off Vanessa instead of Doug. Because now having to watch Dani have this conversation with Vanessa where she's upset because she saw Haley and Leslie talking earlier and called them both sluts today. But then she's having a conversation with the biggest slut in town, Vanessa. And characters like Vanessa make characters like Dani look bad when they're friends with Vanessa, but then mad at the women that had affairs with men in their family. Bill having an affair with Haley. She's still obsessed with Bill when Bill's the problem. Ted cheated on Nicole with Leslie. Now, Leslie is more of the problem than Ted is because Leslie's ridiculous. But my statement stands. Dani, at this point, is one of the only characters that I still find to be mostly likable and entertaining. So she is one of my favorites. But then in scenes with Vanessa, it doesn't make me like her as much. She was a huge hypocrite today in these scenes with Vanessa because Vanessa is the biggest slut in town. And then I just don't understand how these characters are supposed to act like it's just not weird that they want to keep associating with Vanessa when she continues to get closer to Joey, when apparently most of the town understands that Joey tries to be Grandpa Gangster. And now Vanessa is flat out telling Dani that she wants to be more involved in Joey's business and sit on the throne with him. But Dani and Nicole are supposed to associate with Vanessa going forward when she's saying she wants to be a criminal. It just doesn't seem like it fits on the show to me. I just don't understand how these characters are supposed to keep interacting with Vanessa when she does the things she does. Vanessa has always been more of a caricature than a character, and I feel like it's actually getting worse instead of better. I did enjoy Grandpa Gangster's scenes with Elon more than anything that had to do with Vanessa, because at least there was some real tension there, and I actually really enjoyed the actor that plays Elon. And I felt like Elon did good at trying to get his way with Joey today, in that he wants Malone to retire and go away because he's becoming more of a liability than not, but Joey wants Elon to stay to handle a lot of the dirty business because he is reliable. And by the end of the episode, Elon didn't actually back down, and I like that because Joey was saying Malone is staying and Elon needs to make peace with that, and by the end, Elon did not quite back down. So I don't know where they're going with this, and I'm not really all that interested because the Grandpa Gangster stuff it needs to be more dramatic or something. Let's start seeing Joey like sex traffic. Let's see him actually be a dangerous villain that doesn't just do a lot of talking and just send Randy to maybe beat up a few guys. Like, yeah, he seems responsible for Doug's death, but outside of that, why is Joey the big bad? Like, the show needs to show us more rather than tell us, I think, might be the problem there. I did have to laugh when Grandpa Gangster was saying that Elon is wound tight and needs more fiber in his diet, and he has some recipes for Elon. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure Grandpa Gangster has a lot of Metamucil recipes for some damn fiber in your diet. He's the oldest big bad on a show right now. All right, I'm done today, I think. It was still a good episode, though, overall. I think Joey and Vanessa are becoming the worst part of the show for me, but this seems to switch every other week, when it depends who's getting all the airtime. Thankfully, Ashley and Derek have not been getting a lot of airtime lately, because if they were, they would still be the worst. But right now, it's Vanessa and Joey for me, personally. But sometimes it's Kat, Tomas, and Eva, but the show might be moving away from that, at least where Eva is concerned. So that's a step in the right direction. But I really wish this Vanessa and Joey stuff would take a better direction or a more logical direction. Because if they're still going to continue to write Vanessa like a caricature, she's going to drag down other characters with her. And that's kind of what we saw with Dani today.